I think I just ruined my boss's marriage, and I might lose my job over it. I'm sitting here at 2 a.m., can't sleep, wondering if I did the right thing, or if I'm the biggest idiot in corporate America. Hey guys, if you're new to the channel, who's the villain? AITA. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love hearing from you all. Let me give you the full context, because this situation is way more complicated than it sounds. I'm 28, been working at this mid-sized tech company for about 3 years now. Started as a junior developer, worked my way up to senior position. My boss, let's call him Richard, 45, has been nothing but supportive of my career. Honestly, the best manager I've ever had. Patient, understanding, always fighting for better raises for the team, you know? The kind of boss you actually respect and don't just tolerate. Richard's been married to his wife, Amanda, 42, for like 18 years. They have 2 kids, a daughter who's 15 and a son who's 12. I've met Amanda a few times at company events and holiday parties. She always seemed, I don't know, nice enough, pleasant, professional. The kind of corporate spouse who knows how to work a room. She's a real estate agent, does pretty well from what I understand. They seemed happy together, or at least, they put on a good show. Now here's where it gets messy. About 6 months ago, Richard hired this new marketing director. Let's call her Vanessa, 34. Vanessa is one of those people who just commands attention when she walks into a room. You know what I mean? Confident, articulate, always dressed impeccably. She's legitimately good at her job too. Brought in some major clients, completely revamped our social media presence. I'll give her that. At first, everything seemed normal. Vanessa integrated into the team, started collaborating with different departments. Richard would meet with her regularly, but that made sense. She was a director-level hire, and they needed to align on strategy. Nobody thought anything of it initially. But then, I started noticing things. Small things at first. Like how Richard's behavior changed when Vanessa was around. He'd laugh a little louder at her jokes, lean in closer during meetings, find excuses to stop by her office. I remember thinking, that's weird. But I brushed it off. Maybe I was reading too much into it. The real wake-up call came about 3 months ago. I had to work late one Tuesday. We had a product launch deadline, and I was debugging some critical issues. It was probably around 8 p.m., and I thought the office was mostly empty. I went to the kitchen area to grab some coffee, and that's when I heard voices coming from the conference room at the end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar, and I could see Richard and Vanessa inside. And guys, they were not discussing quarterly projections. Richard had his hand on Vanessa's waist, and she was touching his chest, and they were standing way too close for any professional interaction. I froze. Literally stood there like an idiot, holding my empty coffee mug. I quickly backed away before they could see me. My heart was racing. I went back to my desk and tried to focus on work, but I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen. Should I say something? To who? Mind my own business? I decided to pretend it never happened. But after that night, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The lingering glances across the conference table. The working dinners that Richard started mentioning more frequently. Vanessa wearing this particular perfume that I'd sometimes smell in Richard's office. Once, I swear I saw a hickey on Richard's neck that he tried to cover with his collar. Type of thing where you're like, am I crazy, or is this really happening? I started feeling complicit somehow, like I was helping them hide this secret just by not saying anything. But what was I supposed to do? March into HR? Confront my boss? Call his wife who I barely know? Every option seemed insane. The situation escalated about 5 weeks ago at our annual company retreat. It's this whole big thing we do. 2 days at this resort about an hour outside the city. Team building activities. presentations, award ceremony, open bar. Spouses are usually invited to the dinner on the second night. Amanda came to the dinner. She looked really nice, I remember. Wore this emerald green dress, had her hair done. She seemed excited to be there, chatting with people, asking about their work. Richard was distant. He kept checking his phone, seemed distracted. At one point, Amanda reached for his hand, and he sort of pulled away, made some excuse about needing to check on something. Vanessa was there too, obviously, since she's a director. She kept a professional distance that night, but I noticed her and Richard exchanging these loaded looks, like they had this whole secret language. Amanda didn't seem to notice, or maybe she was really good at pretending. Later that night, after most people had gone to their rooms, a group of us were still at the hotel bar. I went outside to take a phone call from my girlfriend. Yeah, I have a girlfriend, Emily. She's 26. We've been together for 2 years. She's going to be relevant to this story later. When I was walking back inside, I saw them. Richard and Vanessa were in this alcove near the elevators, partially hidden by some decorative plants. And they were kissing, like full-on making out. His hands were in her hair, her arms around his neck. I felt sick to my stomach. His wife was literally upstairs in their hotel room. I must have made some noise because they suddenly broke apart. Vanessa saw me first. Her eyes went wide, and she touched Richard's arm. He turned around, and our eyes met. For a second, nobody moved. Then Richard said really quietly, "Hey, can we talk?" I should have walked away. I should have said not my business and gone to my room. But instead, I nodded. Vanessa quickly excused herself and headed toward the elevators. Richard and I went outside to this patio area. He didn't even try to deny it, just ran his hand through his hair and said, "Look, I know how this looks." I kind of laughed at that, like, how else could it possibly look? He told me that things with Amanda had been complicated for years, that they'd been more like roommates than spouses, that Vanessa understood him in a way Amanda never had. All the classic affair justifications, you know. Then he said something that really pissed me off. He said, "I hope I can trust you to be discreet about this. It would be really unfortunate if rumors started affecting the team dynamic." It wasn't quite a threat, but it wasn't not a threat either. Like he was reminding me that he was my boss and had power over my career. I told him I needed to think. He nodded, patted me on the shoulder like we'd just had some friendly chat, and went back inside. I stayed out there for probably an hour, just sitting in the dark, trying to process everything. When I got back to my room, I called Emily, told her everything. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You have to tell his wife." I argued with her, said it wasn't my place, that I could lose my job, that maybe their marriage was already over anyway. Emily got frustrated with me. She said, "If I were being cheated on, I would want someone to tell me. Wouldn't you?" That question stuck with me. Would I want to know? Absolutely. But was I the person to tell Amanda? I still wasn't sure. The next few weeks were torture. I'd see Richard and Vanessa in meetings, watch them play this professional game while I knew what was really going on. Richard kept things cordial with me, but there was this underlying tension. Like we both knew I was sitting on information that could blow up his life. Then, 2 weeks ago, something happened that changed everything. We had this big client presentation, huge potential contract, make or break kind of thing. Richard was supposed to lead it, but the morning of the presentation, he called in sick. Vanessa had to step in and deliver it instead. She did great. We got the contract. But here's the thing. Richard wasn't sick. I know because I saw his car in the parking garage of this boutique hotel downtown when I was driving to meet Emily for lunch. And I saw Vanessa's car too. They were together, hooking up, while lying to the entire company about a sick day, missing a crucial presentation for an afternoon hookup. That's what did it for me. It wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about him being a hypocrite. He'd always preached about integrity, about being committed to the work, about the team coming first. And here he was, lying to everyone, risking company business for an affair. I went home that night and made a decision. I was going to tell Amanda. Emily supported me. She helped me figure out how to approach it. We decided I should reach out to Amanda through Facebook, ask to meet her privately, tell her in person. So I sent the message, said something like, "Hi Amanda, I hope this doesn't seem too forward, but I have some information about Richard that I think you should know. Could we possibly meet for coffee sometime this week? It's important." She responded within an hour, said she could meet me the next day at a cafe near her office. She seemed concerned, but not panicked. I barely slept that night, rehearsing what I was going to say. We met at 3 p.m. I got there early, ordered a coffee I didn't drink, went over my talking points. When Amanda arrived, she looked worried, tired, like maybe she already suspected something, but didn't want to believe it. We sat down and I just said it. I told her I'd seen Richard and Vanessa kissing at the company retreat, that I'd noticed signs of an affair for months, that I'd seen both their cars at a hotel when Richard called in sick. I gave her dates, specifics, everything I could remember. Amanda didn't cry. That's what got me. She just sat there, very still, staring at her hands. Then she asked me details. How long had I known? What exactly had I seen? Was I absolutely certain? I answered everything honestly. Told her about the conference room, the retreat, the hotel. Finally, she looked up at me and said, "Thank you for telling me. I know this couldn't have been easy." Then she asked me not to mention to Richard that we'd met. She wanted to handle things her own way. I agreed. She left after about 20 minutes. I sat there feeling like I'd just detonated a bomb. Emily called me right after, asking how it went. I told her it was done. She said I did the right thing, but I felt numb. Still do, kind of. For a few days, nothing happened. Richard acted normal at work. Vanessa too. I started wondering if Amanda had decided to ignore what I told her. Maybe work on the marriage quietly. Maybe she already knew and just needed confirmation. But then, last Monday, everything exploded. Richard came into the office looking absolutely destroyed. His eyes were red. He hadn't shaved. His shirt was wrinkled. People started whispering. Around 10 a.m., he called an emergency meeting with Vanessa and HR. Nobody knows exactly what was said in that meeting, but within an hour, Vanessa was packing up her office. She looked furious and humiliated. Apparently, Amanda had not only confronted Richard, but she'd also filed a formal complaint with HR about the affair, citing the power dynamic and professional misconduct. The company was doing damage control. By Tuesday afternoon, word had spread through the entire office like wildfire. People were grouping up in the break room, whispering in corners, sending texts. I could feel eyes on me. But nobody knew yet that I was the one who'd told Amanda. Richard didn't come back to work for the rest of that week. HR sent out this vague email about organizational changes and maintaining professionalism during times of transition. Vanessa was officially placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The email didn't say why, but everyone knew. Corporate affairs spread faster than any marketing campaign Vanessa ever designed. My coworker Jake, 32, cornered me at my desk that Tuesday. "Dude, did you hear? Apparently Richard's wife went nuclear, filed complaints, threatened lawsuits, the whole thing." I played dumb, asked what he meant. Jake leaned in closer. Word is she had proof, like specific dates, times, locations. Someone must have told her everything. My stomach dropped. I just nodded and said something about how crazy it all was. Jake wasn't done, though. I always thought Vanessa was too ambitious, you know? Like she was sleeping her way to the top. And Richard. Man, I respected that guy. Can't believe he'd throw away his marriage and career for some office fling. After Jake left, I sat there feeling sick. Was that how everyone would see it? That Vanessa was some manipulative homewrecker and Richard was just a victim of temptation? From what I'd seen, they were both equally into it, both making choices, both lying. Emily called me during lunch. "How's work?" she asked. I told her everything was chaos. She paused, then said, "You did the right thing. Remember that." But honestly, sitting in that office watching everything implode, I wasn't sure anymore. Wednesday morning, I got called into HR. My heart was pounding when I walked into that office. Sarah from HR, 38, and another HR director I'd never met, Thomas, 45, were sitting there with serious faces. Sarah gestured for me to sit down. "We're conducting interviews with several staff members as part of our investigation," Sarah said. "We understand you've worked closely with both Richard and Vanessa. Did you ever witness any inappropriate behavior between them?" I told them the truth, about seeing them in the conference room that night 3 months ago, about the company retreat, about the hotel. I gave them dates, everything I'd given Amanda. Thomas was typing furiously on his laptop. Sarah's expression never changed. When I finished, Sarah asked, "Why didn't you report this when you first witnessed it?" That's the question, isn't it? I told her I wasn't sure it was my place, that I thought I might be misinterpreting things, that I was worried about retaliation. She made some notes. "Are you aware that we have policies regarding relationships between supervisors and subordinates?" Sarah asked. I said yes. "And you're aware that failure to report violations of company policy can itself be a violation?" My mouth went dry. I said I understood now, but at the time I was confused about what to do. They thanked me for my honesty and said the investigation was ongoing. As I left, Thomas said, "By the way, did you have any communication with Amanda Richardson about this matter?" I froze. Should I lie? Would Amanda tell them? I decided on the truth. Yes, I met with her last week and told her what I'd witnessed. Sarah and Thomas exchanged a look. "I see," Sarah said. "Thank you for disclosing that." I left that office feeling like I'd just confessed to a crime. When I got back to my desk, there was a message from Richard. Just 3 words. "We need to talk." He wanted to meet at a coffee shop a few blocks away after work. Every part of me screamed not to go, but I felt like I owed him a conversation. Maybe that was stupid. Richard looked terrible when I got there. He'd lost weight. His eyes were hollow. He was wearing a wrinkled polo shirt and jeans. Not the polished executive I knew. He'd already ordered 2 coffees. I sat down across from him. "Amanda told me you were the one who informed her," he said. No greeting, no preamble. His voice was flat, emotionless. I nodded. "Why?" he asked. "Why couldn't you just mind your own business?" I got defensive. Told him it was my business when it was happening in my workplace, affecting my work environment, putting me in an uncomfortable position. Told him he'd put me in this situation, not the other way around. "You've destroyed my family," Richard said quietly. "My kids won't talk to me. Amanda's filing for divorce. I'm probably going to lose my job. Vanessa won't return my calls. All because you decided to play hero." That pissed me off. I didn't destroy your family. You did. By cheating on your wife. By lying to everyone. By using company time and resources to have an affair. I just told the truth. Richard laughed bitterly. "The truth? You think you know the truth? You have no idea what my marriage was like. You don't know what Amanda and I went through. You saw a few moments and decided you knew the whole story. I asked him what he wanted from me. He stared into his coffee for a long time. I want you to know that you didn't just expose an affair. You destroyed lives. My daughter is in therapy now because her parents are splitting up. My son cries himself to sleep. Amanda's having panic attacks. Vanessa's career is ruined. The team at work is fractured. Was it worth it? Being the righteous truth-teller? I didn't know what to say. I mumbled something about how he made his choices, and I made mine. He stood up to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, I recommended you for my position. Before all this happened, you were supposed to get promoted. Now I don't know what's going to happen to any of us. Then he left. I sat there for probably an hour, that coffee going cold, replaying the conversation in my head. Had I destroyed lives, or had I just revealed destruction that was already there? When I got home, Emily could tell something was wrong. I told her about the meeting. She got angry on my behalf. He's manipulating you, making you feel guilty for his own choices. That's exactly what cheaters do. They blame everyone but themselves. But I couldn't shake his words about the kids. I kept thinking about that 15-year-old daughter and 12-year-old son. They didn't ask to be part of this. Their dad cheated, yes. But would their lives have been better if they'd never found out? If the family had stayed intact, even if it was built on lies? Thursday, things got worse. I came into work and found a printed note on my desk. No signature, just typed words. Hope you're happy destroying people's lives, snitch. Mind your own business next time. My hands were shaking when I picked it up. Someone in the office knew it was me, and they weren't happy about it. I looked around. Everyone was at their desks, typing away, acting normal. Who had left this? I showed the note to Emily over lunch video call. She told me to report it to HR immediately. I said that would just make things worse, make me look like a target. She argued with me about it, but I refused. That afternoon, I overheard a conversation in the break room. Lisa from accounting, 29, and Mike from sales, 34, were talking. I heard Richard's wife hired a private investigator, Lisa said. Apparently she's going after Vanessa legally too, not just Richard. Mike shook his head. Vanessa's such a homewrecker. She knew he was married. But honestly, Richard's the bigger villain here. He had the family, the commitment. She was just single and available. Lisa disagreed. They're both guilty. It takes two to cheat. But I feel bad for Amanda. 18 years of marriage, raising his kids, building a life together, and he throws it away for someone younger and more exciting. I left before they could see me listening, but their words echoed what I'd been thinking. Who was the real villain? Richard, Vanessa, both of them? Or had I become the villain by exposing everything? Friday, Richard officially resigned. The announcement came via email from our CEO. It said Richard had decided to pursue other opportunities and thanked him for his years of service. Everyone knew it was forced. HR had probably given him the option to resign instead of being fired. Vanessa's departure was announced the same day. Mutually agreed to part ways effective immediately. Corporate speak for, we fired her but don't want a lawsuit. The company was in damage control mode, trying to minimize legal exposure. That afternoon, I got an email from Amanda. Subject line: thank you. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the better of me. She wrote, I know this has been difficult for you, and I'm sure Richard has tried to make you feel guilty. Please don't let him. I needed to know the truth. I suspected for months, but had no proof, and I was driving myself crazy, wondering if I was paranoid. You gave me clarity, and the ability to make informed decisions about my life. Yes, my family is going through hell right now. But we were already in hell. I just didn't know it. At least now I can heal and move forward with honesty. My children will understand someday. Thank you for your courage. I read it 3 times. Emily was right. I'd done what Amanda wanted, but Richard was also right. I'd triggered an explosion that hurt innocent people, including his kids. Monday of the next week, the fallout continued. Our team had to be restructured since Richard was gone. They brought in an interim manager, Sandra, 48, from another department. She called a team meeting to introduce herself and address the elephant in the room. Sandra stood at the front of the conference room and said, "I know the past 2 weeks have been tumultuous. What happened between Richard and Vanessa was a serious breach of professional conduct and company policy. The investigation is complete, and we're moving forward. I expect everyone to maintain professionalism and focus on our work. Gossip and speculation end now." Jake raised his hand. "Are there going to be any consequences for people who knew about the affair and didn't report it?" He was looking right at me when he said it. Others turned to look too. Sandra paused. The HR investigation addressed everyone who had relevant information. That matter is closed. We're focused on the future now. After the meeting, I felt multiple people staring at me. Word had gotten out somehow that I was the whistleblower. Maybe from someone in HR. Maybe Richard told people, I don't know. But my coworkers knew. Some people were supportive. Maria from Design, 31, came up to me and said, "That took guts. Amanda deserved to know." But others were cold. Wouldn't make eye contact. Stopped inviting me to lunch outings. The worst was Brad, 39, who'd worked directly under Richard for 5 years. He came to my desk Tuesday afternoon, leaned against the cubicle wall and said, "You know Richard was going to promote you, right? Now we have Sandra, who doesn't know anything about our work. The whole team dynamic is ruined. Hope you feel good about yourself." I told Brad that Richard ruined the team dynamic by having an inappropriate relationship with a direct report. Brad scoffed. They were both adults. It wasn't affecting anyone until you made it everyone's business. Now we're all suffering the consequences of your moral crusade. Emily told me Brad was toxic, and I should report him to HR for creating a hostile work environment. But I was exhausted. I'd already talked to HR multiple times. I just wanted everything to go back to normal. Wednesday, I found out through the grapevine that Vanessa was consulting with lawyers about potential wrongful termination suits. Apparently, she was arguing that the relationship was consensual, that she didn't violate any explicit policies, and that the company had no right to terminate her, while Richard got to resign. Someone from legal called me Thursday. They wanted to know if I'd be willing to provide a statement or testimony if Vanessa pursued litigation. I asked if I had a choice. The lawyer said, technically yes, but it would be appreciated and in the company's best interest. I agreed, feeling like I was getting dragged deeper into this mess. That night, Emily and I had our first real fight about this whole situation. She was frustrated that I was second-guessing myself. "You did the right thing," she kept saying. "Stop letting these people make you feel bad." But I told her it wasn't that simple. Real people were hurt. Kids were hurt. Careers were destroyed. Was I the right person to make that decision? I asked her. Who made me the judge and executioner of their lives? Emily stared at me. You think Amanda shouldn't have known her husband was cheating? You think she should have just lived in ignorance while he carried on an affair? I said, of course not, but maybe there was a better way to handle it. Like what? Emily demanded. Confront Richard privately and let him keep lying? That's what you wanted to do originally, and look where that got you. watching him skip important work to hook up at hotels. I couldn't argue with that. We dropped it, but the tension lingered. This situation was affecting my relationship now too. Friday, 2 weeks after everything exploded, I saw Amanda at a grocery store. Pure coincidence. She was in the produce section when I walked in. Our eyes met, and for a second, I thought about turning around and leaving. But she walked over to me. She looked tired, but composed. "How are you holding up?" she asked. I gave some generic answer about being fine. She nodded. "I heard work has been difficult for you. I'm sorry about that." I asked how her kids were doing. She smiled sadly. "They're angry right now, at Richard, at me, at the situation. My daughter keeps asking why I'm divorcing her dad, like I'm the one who did something wrong. My therapist says that's normal. Kids often blame the parent who disrupts the status quo, even if the other parent caused the problem." "Do you regret knowing?" I asked. It was probably an inappropriate question, but I needed to know. Amanda looked at me seriously. "Not for a second. I regret that Richard betrayed me. I regret that my kids are hurting. But I don't regret knowing the truth. Ignorance isn't bliss. It's just delayed pain." We talked for a few more minutes, then parted ways. I drove home feeling slightly better, but still uncertain. The office gradually settled into a new normal over the following week. Sandra was actually a good manager, fair, communicative, competent. The work itself was fine, but the social atmosphere had shifted permanently. There were now two camps in the office: people who thought I did the right thing, and people who thought I was a snitch who destroyed a good man's career over personal, moral judgments. Nobody said it that directly, but you could feel it in the interactions. And I was left wondering, who's the real villain in this story? 3 weeks after Vanessa's departure, everything came to a head. I was called into a conference room for what HR described as a follow-up meeting. When I walked in, there was Sarah from HR, Thomas, our company's legal counsel, Patricia, 52, and Sandra, my new manager. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a casual follow-up. Patricia started by thanking me for my cooperation during the investigation. Then she said, "We need to discuss some concerns that have been raised about your conduct during this matter." Apparently, Brad had filed a formal complaint, alleging that I'd created a hostile work environment by interfering in employees' personal lives and causing unnecessary workplace disruption. 3 other team members had signed on to the complaint. They argued that I should face the same consequences as Richard and Vanessa, since I'd also violated the company's code of conduct by not reporting the relationship immediately when I first witnessed it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd told the truth, and now I was being investigated. Patricia explained that while my decision to eventually disclose the information was appropriate, my initial failure to report it when I first witnessed it in the conference room 3 months ago was technically a policy violation. The company requires employees to report any observed violations of workplace conduct policies immediately. Sandra jumped in to defend me. With all due respect, this employee was put in an impossible position. His direct supervisor was involved in the misconduct. Reporting it could have resulted in retaliation. We can't punish someone for being caught in an ethical dilemma created by their superior's actions. Patricia and Thomas exchanged looks. After what felt like an eternity, Patricia said they would not be pursuing disciplinary action against me, but it would be noted in my file that I had delayed reporting a policy violation. It would likely affect my eligibility for promotion for the next review cycle. I left that meeting feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I'd done what I thought was right, and I was being penalized for it. Meanwhile, Brad and his supporters faced no consequences for creating an actually hostile environment for me. That night, Emily and I had another fight. I told her I regretted everything, that I should have just kept my mouth shut and let Richard and Vanessa destroy their own lives without my involvement. Emily was furious. So you think Amanda should have just stayed in the dark? You think lying and cheating should go unpunished as long as nobody rocks the boat? I exploded, told her she didn't understand because she wasn't the one dealing with the daily fallout, wasn't the one with a note in her file that would affect her career, wasn't the one being ostracized by half her coworkers. She shot back that I was being selfish, that I was making this about me when it should be about doing the right thing, regardless of personal cost. We didn't speak for 2 days after that fight. I started wondering if this whole situation was going to cost me my relationship too. The following Monday, I got a text from an unknown number. "Can we talk? It's Vanessa." My first instinct was to delete it and block the number, but morbid curiosity got the better of me. I texted back asking what she wanted. We met at a park bench near her apartment Tuesday evening. Vanessa looked different, no perfect makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt. She'd always been so polished at work. This version of her seemed more real, and somehow that made everything worse. "I'm not here to yell at you or make you feel guilty," she started. "I just want you to understand something. Richard and I weren't just some tawdry office fling. We genuinely cared about each other. His marriage was dead long before I came into the picture. Amanda knew it too. She just didn't want to admit it." I asked her how she could possibly know what Amanda wanted. Vanessa sighed. "Because Richard told me. He said they hadn't been intimate in over 2 years, that they only stayed together for the kids, that Amanda had checked out of the marriage emotionally, but refused to consider separation because of her Catholic upbringing. I told her that even if that were all true, they still handled it wrong. You don't have an affair with your subordinate while lying to everyone. You get divorced first. You do things honestly." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "You're so naive. You think life is that simple? Richard has 2 kids who he adores. Amanda has always controlled the narrative in that family. If he'd asked for a divorce before meeting someone else, she would have turned those kids against him, taken him for everything in the settlement, destroyed his reputation. He was trapped." I asked if that justified the affair, the lying, the using of company resources and time. Vanessa stood up, frustrated. "I'm not saying we were perfect, but you destroyed 2 careers and a family based on incomplete information. You saw a few moments and decided you knew the whole story. You played God with other people's lives." She walked away, leaving me sitting there with her words echoing in my head. Was she right? Had I played God? That weekend, I was at Target buying groceries when I literally ran my cart into Amanda's. We both stopped, startled. Her daughter was with her, the 15-year-old. The girl looked at me with such pure hatred that I actually stepped back. "You're him," the daughter said. "You're the one who told my mom." Amanda put her hand on her daughter's shoulder, said, "Katie, that's enough." But Katie pulled away from her mother. "Do you have any idea what you did to our family?" Katie's voice was shaking. "My dad moved out. My little brother cries every night. My mom takes pills just to sleep. All my friends know my dad cheated because it's all over town. I had to delete my Instagram because people were commenting about it. We might have to sell our house. And for what? So you could feel like a hero?" Amanda tried to intervene, apologize to me, pull Katie away. But the damage was done. I saw the real human cost of my decision, staring at me with tears streaming down her face. That 15-year-old girl hadn't done anything wrong, but her entire life had been blown apart. I went home and couldn't eat for the rest of the day. Kept seeing Katie's face, her anger, her pain. Emily tried to comfort me, said Katie was misplacing her anger, that she should be mad at Richard, not at me, but I wasn't so sure anymore. The next week, I found out Richard had taken a job in another state. He was moving away to start fresh, according to the office rumor mill. His kids would stay with Amanda during the school year and visit him during summers and holidays. Another consequence: those kids would now grow up without their father around. I also learned that Vanessa had decided not to pursue legal action against the company. Apparently, they'd reached some kind of settlement, probably a financial payout, in exchange for her silence and agreement not to sue. She'd moved to another city as well. Everyone involved in this mess was scattered to the winds. Work became increasingly uncomfortable. Sandra was supportive, but she couldn't change the fact that half my team resented me. Jake had stopped talking to me entirely. Brad would make passive-aggressive comments in meetings. Maria and a few others remained friendly, but there was always this underlying tension. I started updating my resume, started looking at jobs in other companies. The thought of staying in that office, being the whistleblower for the rest of my career, was unbearable. Emily supported the decision to look for new opportunities, though she worried I was running away. Last week, I got a LinkedIn message from Richard. It was long, rambling, clearly written late at night. He talked about how much his life had fallen apart, how his daughter wouldn't speak to him, how his son blamed him for ruining everything, how Amanda's lawyer was destroying him in the divorce proceedings, going after every asset, how he'd lost not just his job, but his entire professional network in the city. But then, the message took a turn. He wrote, "I've had a lot of time to think, and here's what I realized. You were right. I did this to myself. I made the choices that led here. I convinced myself that I could have it all, that nobody would get hurt if they didn't know. But Amanda deserved the truth. My kids deserved a father who was honest. Vanessa deserved someone who was actually available. And you did what I should have done months ago. You told the truth. I hate you for it, but I also respect you for it. I couldn't do it myself, so someone had to. I'm sorry I tried to make you the villain in this story. The real villain was me all along." I read that message probably 50 times, showed it to Emily. She cried when she read it. "See," she said, "even he knows you did the right thing." But I wasn't sure Richard's opinion absolved me of the consequences my choice had caused. So here I am now, 3 months after telling Amanda the truth. Richard's career is over. Vanessa's career is ruined. Amanda is going through a traumatic divorce. 2 kids are in therapy dealing with their parents' separation. My workplace is divided into factions. My own career has been damaged. My relationship with Emily has been strained. And I'm left with these impossible questions. Should Amanda have been told? Absolutely. But was I the right person to tell her? I don't know. Should Richard and Vanessa have faced consequences for their affair? Probably. But did those consequences need to be this nuclear? I'm not sure. People keep asking me if I'd do it again, knowing what I know now. The honest answer is, I don't know. I can construct arguments for why it was the right thing. Amanda deserved the truth. The affair violated company policy. Lying and cheating should have consequences. But I can also see how my choice caused a cascade of pain that spread far beyond the original wrongdoing. Here's what keeps me up at night. Katie's face in that target. The pure, justified anger of a child whose world was destroyed. She didn't ask to be born into this situation. Didn't choose to have a father who would cheat, or a mother who would divorce him, or a stranger who would expose it all. But she's living with the consequences of all those choices. Richard made bad choices. Vanessa made bad choices. I made a choice too. And I'm not sure any of us were the heroes in this story. Maybe there are no heroes in situations like this. Maybe there are just people making impossible decisions in complicated circumstances, all convinced they're doing the right thing. The arguments against me are strong. Brad says I should have minded my own business, that adults can handle their own relationships. Katie would say I destroyed her family. Richard initially said I played God with lives that weren't mine to judge. Vanessa says I acted on incomplete information and moral superiority. But the arguments for what I did are also strong. Emily says honesty matters more than comfortable lies. Amanda says she needed the truth to make informed decisions about her life. Even Richard eventually admitted that someone had to do what he couldn't do himself. Sandra says I was put in an impossible position by Richard's own misconduct. So who's the villain here? Is it Richard for having the affair in the first place? Is it Vanessa for getting involved with a married man and her superior? Is it me for exposing it all and triggering the explosion? Is it Amanda for filing complaints and pursuing a scorched earth divorce? Or is it just a situation where everyone made understandable but flawed choices, and there are no clear villains or heroes? I think about all the people affected by this. Richard starting over in a new city away from his kids. Vanessa, blacklisted in her industry. Amanda, rebuilding her life as a single mother. Katie and her brother, children of divorce they never wanted. My coworkers, working in a fractured team environment. Emily, dealing with my constant second-guessing. And me, wondering if my conscience was worth the cost. The truth is complicated. Richard wasn't just a villain. He was also a good boss who supported my career, a father who loves his kids, a man trapped in an unhappy marriage who made terrible choices about how to handle it. Vanessa wasn't just a homewrecker. She was also a talented professional who fell for someone unavailable. Amanda wasn't just a victim. She also weaponized the situation in the divorce. And I wasn't just a truth teller. I was also someone who triggered consequences that hurt innocent people, including children. Maybe that's the real answer. We're all capable of being both the villain and the hero of our own stories. We make choices that seem right in the moment, but have consequences we never imagined. We hurt people while trying to help others. We tell the truth, but cause pain. We do what we think is moral and ethical, but morality and ethics are subjective, context-dependent, complicated. If I could go back, would I do it differently? I honestly don't know. I probably would have reported to HR immediately, instead of going to Amanda directly. That might have been more professional, less personal. But would the outcome have been any different? Probably not. The truth was going to come out eventually, and it was always going to hurt. What I do know is this: secrets have consequences. Affairs have consequences. Truth-telling has consequences. Silence has consequences. There is no choice in situations like this that doesn't hurt someone. You just have to decide who you're willing to hurt and for what reasons. I chose to hurt Richard, Vanessa, Katie, and her brother in service of what I believed was the greater principle, that Amanda deserved to know the truth. Others would have chosen differently, would have prioritized the stability of the family structure, even if it was built on lies, would have minded their own business and let the affair run its course, would have confronted Richard privately instead of going to Amanda. I don't think I'm the villain, but I don't think I'm the hero either. I think I'm just someone who saw something wrong and tried to make it right, without fully understanding all the ways that right could also be wrong. So I'm asking you, the people watching this story unfold, the people who aren't emotionally involved, who can see it from the outside. Am I the villain? Was I wrong to tell Amanda? Should I have handled it differently? Or did Richard and Vanessa create this mess themselves, and I was just the messenger? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Who's the Villain? AITA, if you haven't already. And I really want to hear from you on this one. Rate this situation on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is you're completely the villain, and 10 is you're completely justified. Leave your rating and your thoughts in the comments below, because honestly, I'm still not sure what the right answer is.